Are you like me and you want to remodel your kitchen and you're trying to decide which type of countertop material to pick, whether it's quartz, maybe quartzite, and maybe even try to true granite? Well, then this video is going to be perfect for you because I am going to share with you the pros and the cons of each of these materials, of quartz versus quartzite versus granite. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to decide which type of countertop material is perfect for you. My name's Carrie. I'm a self-taught designer as well as founder of the blog Penny Modern, and I've been designing and remodeling kitchens for over a decade. And make sure you stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to put these materials to a test, a brutal test, including staining and trying to bash them with a hammer. So you've got to wait until the end of the video to see all the results of my testing. But first we're gonna go to the slab yard and you're gonna go along with me to go view what are these materials really made out of, what are the different types and varieties, and what are some of the pros and cons. So let's go. First, I wanted to talk about granite. Granite is 100% natural stone, and this is something that they mine from the earth in these big quarries. They actually get it out in these huge blocks, and then they slice it into pieces that then become countertops. They do some polishing, and you can get it in a variety of different ways of polish, so you can have it polished like a shiny polish. You can also have a honed finish, which is going to be more of a matte look. And then there's also a leathered look that can be a little bit more of a rough texture. And each finish has a different way of making the stone look. What's great about granite is every piece is a little bit different, right? You're not going to get everything going to be completely the same. And even when I was pulling some of these samples, I can show you guys, the granite can look a little bit different from one piece of granite to another, even if it's the same variety. So this is the Clark. This one is Adonis white. And so you can see here, there's a lot of white in this, but when I looked at a bigger piece, there's definitely a lot more speckling and a lot more darker areas. But what's cool about that is it's very unique. Not everyone is the same. Quartz, on the other hand, is a little bit different. There is real stone in quartz, but it's engineered or manufactured. And so the way that they make quartz, so this is a Carbo brushed color of quartz, or this one is Golden Sky by Caesarstone. You can see here, it does look like a natural stone, but what they do is they have about 90 to 95% quartz crystals, and then the rest of it is resins and pigments. And what that does, it actually gives them the ability to mimic a natural stone, but it also makes it a much more uniform appearance in both the color as well as the veining. But wait, what even is quartzite? A lot of people confuse quartz and quartzite thinking they're the same material. Well, they're completely different. Quartzite is actually 100% natural stone, just like granite is, and it actually starts its process deep within the earth. It starts as kind of a sandstone, and it gets hardened into quartzite through extreme heat and pressure. And the reason why everybody is obsessed with quartzite right now, and this is a sample of Taj Mahal right here, the reason why it's so popular is because it has beautiful veining and a very layered look, and it also has just a lot of beautiful movement and subtle colors in it. It can come in a lot of different lighter colors, which are very popular right now. Well, now that we know what they're made out of, how do you think that this would actually make them perform in your kitchen? Now we're gonna look at durability and maintenance. And I did look up in terms of the most hardness scale, which ones are rated what. So quartzite actually has the highest hardness rating of a 7 to 8 on the most hardness scale. Granite is actually rated about a 6 or a 7. However, quartz is rated a 7, so it's slightly higher than granite. The cool thing about quartz, because of those resins that are in there, it actually makes it a little bit more resistant to chipping than granite, which can be a little bit more brittle. But those same resins can actually be a weakness for quartz. Those resins only are resistant to heat up to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So you definitely don't want to be putting a hot pan on your quartz countertop because otherwise it can cause a mark to be on it that you won't be able to get off. It also might crack the quartz. It also can pop or explode, but that's a story for another video, and I'll show that here and I'll link to it down below, my video that's just on quartz. Now, granite, on the other hand, that is going to be something that's more resistant to heat than quartz for sure. It can handle degrees to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you have those cooks in your home that really want to put a pan or do a ton of cooking and they put pans on their countertop, granite's going to be the better choice. Now, the other con about having the quartz is actually those resins again. They can actually yellow if exposed to too much UV light. So if you have a window that gets a ton of sunshine directly on your countertop, the quartz in that area, it may end up yellowing over time. Granite, on the other hand, it's not really going to be phased by sunshine, and that's why a lot of people use granite in outdoor kitchens, because it can withstand that UV light and still look beautiful for many years. Oh, and if you're getting value from this video so far, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe to get more videos just like this. Now, you might also be thinking about what about food safety as well as maintenance when you're thinking about buying granite versus quartz. Well, this is where one of the biggest myths lie. So granite is a porous stone, which means that it's not impervious to water or liquids, right? But quartz is fairly non-porous and the reason why is because you have those resins, which are basically like a plastic or a sealant, and they act as a sealant. And so with granite, you do have to seal it every 1 to 2 years, although I have definitely gone longer than that without sealing it, and it's been totally fine. With quartz, you don't really have to do any sealing whatsoever. So I think that there is a myth out there that's around granite and porous stones and those having a way for bacteria to be harbored inside the stone. That is definitely not true. You can definitely just wash it with soap and water and it gets rid of all the bacteria. So you can use either one and make sure that they're totally safe for your family. Now, what about quartzite when it comes to being resistant to bacteria as well as staining and also heat? Well, quartzite has a resistance to heat of up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So it has exceptional heat resistant, even better than granite and definitely better than regular quartz. It won't fade in the sun. Also, it is food safe. However, because it is a porous natural material, you are going to have to seal it every 1 to 2 years to make sure that it stays resistant to bacteria and is totally safe for putting your foods directly on it and making sure that cleanup is a breeze. Now that we know a little bit about the maintenance facts, you might be leaning one way or another, but that's why we need to continue our trip in the showroom, because when you see the aesthetics and the patterns and the colors that are in each of these different types of countertops, it's gonna change everything. If you want a kitchen that's very earthy, organic, and truly one of a kind, and you also have a cook in your house, granite might be a great choice for you. I have been seriously thinking about granite because of the durability and because my husband is honestly a hardcore cook, and I just really love how durable granite is. But a lot of people don't like how busy it looks. So I did try to find some different varieties that you guys might be interested in. This is Adonis white granite, and I thought this was very beautiful. It has a lot of beiges in it. And then I found another one. This is Bianco Antico, and I thought this was great. I'm gonna be showing you guys some of the ones I found in the slab yard as well. And this has almost some purple and brown spots in it, as well as a cream color. And then this one I thought was interesting. This is called Clark. And what was interesting about this is when you look at one sample versus another, and I'll show a picture here, you can see the different areas of the granite look very different. And so that is one of the problems with granite, is that you really need to be selecting your specific stone when you go to the slab store. So if you're gonna buy some samples, like you can order samples of granite from Home Depot or something. And I was reading some of the reviews online when people do select a piece of granite from a small sample like this, they get it installed in their home and they're completely shocked by how different it looks when it's in their home, because each stone has so much variation in it. Even one type of granite can look very different from slab to slab. So you definitely want to pick out the specific one that you want to get installed in your home. Now there are black granites, which I am definitely a fan of, and I've really been considering because we're considering doing a soapstone or a black or a dark gray countertop in our kitchen because I wanted something a little masculine because my husband is the cook. I'm gonna show you some of the ones that I found in the slab yard. And what is cool about this, you can get them in that glossier finish, but you also can get it a honed or a leathered finish. And I really like the leathered finish, although I am debating on how easy that will be to clean. Now, quartz, on the other hand, is very predictable, and you can get a small sample. These are bigger, but I have some smaller ones, and they're going to look very similar to the slabs that you're going to end up getting. This is Calacatta Cinela, and I thought this was absolutely gorgeous. I actually really love this. If we were gonna get a white one, it has a lot of gold and brown veining in it. And then I also did like this one. This is Soapstone Mist, which is a really light gray. It's a little hard to see, but it is a gray color. And then I did find one because I told you guys I'm really loving a soapstone look. This is a very dark charcoal color. And then this one is called Rococo, and this is Ice White. But if you want that very crisp, modern, clean kitchen look, quartz might be the better choice for you because you are going to have a lot of predictability, a very beautiful pattern that's man-made, right? And that way you're not going to have as many surprises when it comes to getting your slab in. And I think that quartz, and I'll show you some of these examples here, there's just so many different colors. You literally can get ones, and a lot of them are so natural looking. They look like they could be natural, but they're not. There's marbles, there's ones that look like soapstone, there's ones that look like granite, there's ones that look like travertine. There's a lot of quartz that now looks like quartzite, which is the most popular one right now is Taj Mahal. They actually have quartzes that mimic that look, and they're almost indistinguishable. And then when I was in the slab yard and I was looking around at all the different materials, one that stopped me in my track was a beautiful slab of quartzite. There were tons of different slabs of Taj Mahal when I went to both slab yards, and it has a beautiful creamy white background with tons of very subtle veining. And the veining can be gray, it can be a darker brown, it can also even have a cream color. So it is a beautiful natural look to your kitchen. What's great about quartzite, it can look like a very high-end marble because of all that beautiful veining and how light color it is. But it's much harder and it's much more heat resistant than marble. And the other thing that's interesting about quartzite, I'm seeing it in more finishes. There's a shiny finish, but there's also a brushed finish, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous in the showroom. The most common colors of quartzite are going to be these soft, creamy colors, as well as soft beige, as well as a warm gray. And any of these are going to pair beautifully with just about any cabinet color. You can also find some quartzite with very dramatic veining in it, but some of those are more rare, so they're gonna be more expensive the more rare of a quartzite that you buy. The one word of warning I have is definitely around the sample. So if you get a very small sample like this, when you get your quartzite, you definitely want to go pick out your slab because they can look completely different depending on the actual slab that is selected. And if you are starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed when it comes to your kitchen remodel, don't worry, I've got you back because I have a great, wonderful guide that is 100 money-saving hacks to help you save thousands on your kitchen remodel. It has an entire chapter dedicated to countertops and how you can save money, how you can find different ways to get everything that you want and get your dream kitchen that you definitely deserve. So there's going to be a link for that right here that you can click. There's also a QR code that pops up that you can scan with your phone if you're watching on TV. I also can link it down in the description below so you can get your copy today. Now let's talk about money, because which one do you think is going to cost you more? Quartz or granite or maybe quartzite? We're going to talk about that now, as well as resale value. The good news, at least for granite and quartz, the costs up front are really neck and neck. According to 2025 industry data, a lot of the costs for both quartz and granite were between $50 and $120 per square foot. And that includes installation, and the price variation really can depend on the rarity of the granite or the designer or brand name behind the quartz. Now, quartzite is a different story when it comes to cost. According to an industry study in 2025, Quartzite can run between $100 and $150 per square foot installed, which is definitely higher than we are going to see with a granite or a quartz. So why does quartzite cost so much more than quartz or granite? One of the reasons is because it's a completely natural stone, and also because it's extremely hard. And so if it's hard, it makes it harder to actually cut and fabricate. So it requires more labor, which drives up the cost. The second factor is actually around the variety of quartzite that you pick. So some quartzites are very specific to certain areas of the world, like specific areas of Brazil. Now, in terms of, is quartzite worth the higher price? That can be up to you. If you love the look of more of a marble, but you don't like the fact that marble might stain or have etching issues, then you might want to do quartzite, because it is going to give you that beautiful look of marble, but it's going to be extremely resistant to heat. But what about resale value? Real estate data shows that minor kitchen upgrades, such as countertops or maybe new cabinets, can recoup around 85 to 93% of their value when it comes to resale. Both materials are considered high-end upgrades, especially versus a butcher block or a laminate. They're going to boost your home's value. But current market trends report that a lot of today's homeowners don't want to deal with the maintenance required for some of these natural stones. So quartz has been a more requested countertop finish for a lot of today's buyers. Quartz is a low maintenance winner, and it's also available in so many different colors and styles. It's extremely beautiful, and it's great for resale. The one con about quartz is that it's not completely heat proof, and definitely would not be good if you're going to be getting a lot of full sunshine on your quartz countertops. But now, aren't you curious? Let's see how these materials are going to hold up to some real life abuse. I have a few different samples of granite, I have a sample of quartzite, and then I have a few different samples of quartz. And we are going to be doing some different tests. We're going to do balsamic vinegar and some hot sauce to see if these bad boys are going to get stained. We're also going to do a hardness test with my hammer here, and we're also going to use this for the heat test, and I'm going to try to heat this up over 400 degrees to see which one is going to survive the best, and that is going to be the end my heat test. Now, before we get started, make sure you check out that guide. That's 100 money-saving hacks to save thousands on your kitchen remodel, and I have a whole section on countertops. I have a comparison chart. It's really going to help you out. I'm going to leave that link down in the description or also in the pinned comment, so check that out today. First, we are going to try the staining test, and so the quartz is here, quartzite is here, and this is the granite. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of, this is balsamic vinegar from Italy, on each one and see what happens. I'm also gonna try this hot sauce, salsa picante negro. And then I'm gonna try some tomato sauce. I'm putting the tomato sauce right here. You know, these are all common things, right? Tomato sauce, balsamic, we all have these in our kitchen. These have been on here for a while, so now I'm going to wipe off. This was the quartz, the quartzite, and the granite. And let's wipe these off here. I wanted to show you guys bird's eye view. Now, I don't see any difference on that. That is the quartz. So the quartz is looking pretty good, in my opinion. Now we will try the quartzite. Let's remove all this stuff from the quartzite. See what happens to that. This does not look really any different, in my opinion. And then that was the quartz. They both look pretty similar to how they were previously. And then finally we have the granite. We're gonna see about the granite. And you know, the granite is already kind of brown anyway. I don't really see any difference. So I feel like I think they've all been sealed. So I really feel like they all performed the same. There is no change whatsoever in terms of the granite. Next up, we're gonna do our hardness test, and I am going to just basically try to bash these with a hammer and kind of replicate, you know, if you drop something heavy or hard on your countertops, what is gonna happen. So I did get a new piece of quartz, and this is the quartzite and the granite, and we're gonna try to just bash them all. That was the quartz. This is the quartzite. And then the granite. Let's keep doing our hardness tests ourselves. I am also going to use the pointy and to kind of mimic, you know, if you dropped a tool or something on here, what happens then? So this is the quartzite, and honestly, it is not even really chipping. This is definitely has some little divots in it and scratches. Let's see what happens with the granite. Definitely has some scratches in it. This is the quartzite. On the quartz, you can definitely, it immediately has a divot and a scratch in it as soon as you hit it with the hammer. And I'd say the granite too, but the quartzite is actually very resistant to this hammer. So that's actually really great how hard the quartzite is. And that could be one of the reasons why you want to pay a little bit more to get that quartzite. Now we're going to take our pan and do our test. And we're going to first do the granite and put it on there and see how that goes. We have the granite. Then we have, and that looked just fine. Then now we have the quartzite. We're gonna see what happens with the quartzite. Now we're on the quartzite with our hot pan. Totally fine. Now I'm curious about this is Soapstone Mist Quartz. Let's see if this does anything. So we're gonna see about the Soapstone Quartz and see if this is going to discolor it. It can cause cracking. It can cause it to explode, all different kinds of things. Now I do not see any discoloration at all on that. I was most curious about the quartz. I'm gonna leave it on there. I'm gonna check the temperature again. So this is over 300 on this pan. This is Soapstone Mist Quartz, and it was just fine. Now, would I go and put my hot pans on it? No, but it did fine in my test. So now that you've seen everything in the slab yard, the pros and the cons, as well as all my testing, which one should you buy for your home? I will be honest with you, there is no wrong answer. It's really your preference and what kind of risks and rewards that you want. If you want something that's more affordable and also is a natural stone, granite is an absolutely great choice. It's also extremely affordable. It's comparable to quartz. Now, quartz is definitely an affordable option, and what's great about quartz is it's available in so many different colors. And that was one of the cons about granite is you do have to seal it every couple years, but quartz you never have to seal or do any maintenance on it because it has those resins in it. But what you're giving up is that it isn't as resistant to heat, and you definitely don't want to use it outdoors. And then finally, there is quartzite. So quartzite is amazing because it looks kind of like marble, but it performs so much better. It's very hard, it's very resistant to stain and etching, and it also is extremely resistant to heat. But quartzite is gonna be a little bit more expensive, so if you have a bigger budget, quartzite might be your top pick. Let me know down in the comments which countertop that you're gonna go with in your dream kitchen. I would love to know. And now that you've picked out your kitchen countertop, don't you need to pick out your kitchen cabinets? Well, then if you do, you've gotta watch my playlist, which is basically everything that you need to know about getting your dream kitchen. I have cabinet videos, I have kitchen design videos, I have design mistake videos. So check out that playlist next, and I'll see you in the next video.